Hello everyone. I'm not actually sure if this is working today. Ooh. Is it working? Doing this on my laptop. Oh. Very confused. Hey! Okay, I am live. The lighting's a bit dodgy, sorry about that. I'm doing this on my laptop in the corner of my house rather than my nice bright light on my phone. I'm potentially going to switch it in a minute if it... No, it's definitely working. Hey John, how's it going? Hello Mark, how are you? Okay, we're definitely live. It looks well different on here. So, I'm Vom. Hello everyone. Hello Hannah. Definitely live now. Okay, so I'm Vom. Today we thought we'd do something a little bit different rather than my usual bi-weekly workout, and we're going to chat a little bit about social media. Yay! Hello. Everyone's going online. So yeah, I manage the social media accounts with Hannah for the Fuel Girls, and my previous job was always working in social media marketing and sales and marketing for lots of big corporate companies. Hello Christian. Over the years in amongst my performing career. So I know quite a lot about it, and I've done lots of work with businesses, with performers, with small companies over the years on how to best use your social platforms. So making people plans, making people relaunch plans, all the way down to full-blown marketing campaigns and strategies for big blue chip clients with my old agency. So we went online and asked a few of you some questions about what you'd like to chat about today. So use this session as a free-for-all, really. Ask me as we go along questions about things you might like to know and what I can perhaps talk about. But what I've done is made a bit of a... I say a bit, I've written down what could be a 3-hour seminar. I don't want to do that necessarily, but I'm going to use my notes as points to talk through with you pertinent things I think are important about social media that will be useful to performers and small businesses alike. The first thing I talk about whenever people talk about how to best do their social is treat your accounts like a business account. I'm not saying switch over to a business account, but you essentially have to use your personal platforms if you are a performer or a small business. Let's say you're a performer, use your social media accounts in the way that we would treat a business account. So you are your own business, essentially. So that's what I do for myself. Well, I try to, but I don't really keep up with it because I manage other accounts and it's so much work. That's the number one thing I think people really struggle with when it comes to social media is making it work, making your accounts grow, making engaging content. So I'm going to talk today specifically about Instagram and Twitter because I believe they are still the most popular platforms. Facebook is very much from a business perspective, but I think more people will be watching as performers or individuals. So let's start with Instagram. And if you want to ask me any questions throughout, do. And I will also be answering some of the questions that you sent through over on the Fuel Girls Facebook. I don't know where I'm looking, by the way. I look a bit mental, so I'm going to look up there. And I will be checking the comments throughout. So, if you can hear me fine. Oh, hello everyone. Do you like punk rock music? Yes. Hey Nick. Alright, cool. So Instagram first. Number one, above everything else, before you start out, I would say have a look at your analytics and identify your audience. So know who's actually accessing your content. So I know that my audience on my personal Instagram is 60% male and 40% female. Best way to have a look at your analytics is to make sure that you're using a creator account or a business account. Whatever account you use, business, personal, or creator, doesn't affect your engagement. It just means you can do different things. So swipe ups, if you've got over 10,000 followers, you can use with a business or creator account. And there are lots of other cool tools that you can use essentially if you're using one of those as opposed to a standard account. So work out your analytics and understand when they're online and what your audience are and what they like. So it will help you define your content better. Number one, above everything else, when you're kind of thinking about what to do next with your social or how to potentially grow your social. Number two, what are your KPIs? So we would use this as the basis of everything. Set out your key performance indicators. What do you want to achieve? So why are you actually using your platforms? Are you using your Instagram to sell something? Do you want to sell your performance? Are you a performer and do you want to get bookings from it? Are you a performer who's selling a calendar? Map out really clearly what you want to achieve. So everything that you do is always feeding into a goal. So for example, each piece of content that you're planning is there for a reason essentially. And number three, what is your USP? What really makes you different from everyone else? So before you're working on how to go forward with some kind of new strategy or plan, what makes you different? There's like billions of people on social media. Why on earth would someone want to follow you? Some people have it easy. So celebrities or big influencers, I'm not saying that they have it easy, people with a name can use social platforms like Instagram or Twitter and naturally have big followings because of their name. Now, you need to fight in that newsfeed, fight against brands, companies, friends and family members, tons and tons and tons of people paying to have their content pushed and recognised. So define what makes you different and use those three things as the basis of all of your strategy going forward. So that's the kind of pre-work that I always set for people whenever I'm working with a new client or a performer or a new business. We do a lot of deep diving into the analytics and what it is you're really trying to achieve. Once you've mapped that out, the rest of it's kind of easy. I say easy, I'm talking about social today as I would to a business. So once you've got that sorted and nailed, you then can build your strategy. So I do this every week. Well, I've just started doing this every week for myself because I'm going into a new chapter of my life where I want to build my social as well. So building a strategy, I look at my week and I define content that feeds into all of my previous points for the entire week. So that is maybe a post about fuel, a post about my agency that I'm working with, get bits out. It might be something for my OnlyFans. It might be something that interests me, like food. It might be something like fitness. And then I look at the entire week and I plan. I use scheduling software. And again, if you were to work with an agency or someone solo like myself, you can get these really lovely tools like Planoly or Hootsuite or Loomly. There are tons of different pieces of software out there, but you don't have to use them. You can just make your own little spreadsheets and map out how your week looks. It's the best way to plan your content. And it sounds mad. You might be like, that's ridiculous. But if you want to really work on an effective growth strategy where your followers are constantly going up and you might not be a famous person, you might just be a performer or a small business, this is the best way to do it. And you regimentally stick to it. Next thing, interaction. Any type of growth strategy or engagement strategy that you want to work on for social media you have to factor in interacting. So social media is called social media for a reason. You have to be social. That means responding to everyone, interacting with people, commenting back to people, checking your DMs, liking, following, all of that. And it's a lot of effort. It's aggressively manual. Whenever people respond to something, so write a comment, the quicker you get back to them, the better you'll be rewarded. So we'll talk about algorithms in a bit, but Instagram loves it when you respond to people quickly. That's the same for businesses or your own personal accounts. You'll find that your interaction engagement is a lot higher that way. Hello, Dave. My dad's great, thank you. So yes, interaction. And I have this Von's rule of 10 thing where you every day reach out to 10 people on your feed. So 10 people that scroll up on your feed, hey, how are you? Great outfit, or you're looking fantastic. Be kind. Reach out to 10 new people a day, so you can search for people on hashtags. It's really, you all know how to search for people, I'd imagine. On like-minded content, so if you post a lot of stuff about fire performance, you can search for hashtags fire performer and reach out to 10 new people that way as well. It's a really great way of building natural engagement or organic growth. And again, yeah, hashtags. Use them wisely. Make sure you're not using anything, hey Mario, that's banned, and we'll talk about shadow banning briefly in a minute. So, top tips, Von's top tips for Instagram. Number 1, consistency is key. You have to keep up with this plan that you set in place. So once you've worked on your analytics, your audience, and your strategy and your planning, you need to consistently post. The algorithm loves this. That means once you have identified your audience, when they are online and what content they like, male, female, they're on at 6 o'clock every day and 9 a.m. on a Friday, you have to try and post to that strategy. So consistently every single week. I recommend every day on Instagram. Some people like to post twice a day. That's okay, but don't push it. Don't post any more than that. Stories are different. If you keep a constant story going at all times, it's a lot of effort. And you're using all of the functionality that Instagram throws at you. That's polls, questions, lives. That's great as well. Consistently using stories, consistently posting daily, and keeping it that way forever. Don't ever stop. Now going back to those USPs, once you've identified what makes you different, what is it that you're all about? Really be yourself, because there are tons of people online doing the same thing. So if you're a performer, what are you really good at? What do you like doing? Can you share tips and tricks on your, I don't know, fire eating or poi, or can you share costume advice with people? What is it that makes you different from everyone else? And keep doing it. Don't just share curated content. Another top tip for people who are constantly sharing things in their story or just regramming things. At the moment, I'm seeing a lot of this. So it's a difficult time at the moment on social media. There's a lot going on. However, just sharing things that other people are posting just because it's gonna screw up your engagement. Why not take that content and repurpose it in a different way? So write about what that piece of content makes you feel in your own way with a unique piece of content, rather than just sharing curated content constantly. It won't work in your favor in the long run. It's great to do regrams and share people because it helps build your network as well. But yeah, try and say why something has impacted you rather than just throwing a piece of content in your story, if that makes sense. Use the platform for a purpose. So Instagram is great because it's visual and it likes images. Twitter wants you to chat, wants you to interact with people. Facebook's entirely a different beast altogether, but Instagram is visual. It's great for educating or informing people and showing people really who you are. So use it for that purpose. And if you're using a piece of content across all different platforms, make sure you recut it. Make sure you are, for example, if you've got a video, a long form piece of content, and it's going on YouTube, you can make an edit that you can use for Instagram stories. You can make a GIF for your feed. You can then use a cut of that for your story. Understand what piece of content works well and why for each platform. Also, image resolutions, take that into account. Some people just use the same piece of content and smash it out on every platform. Platforms don't like that. Don't do that. And it looks a bit rubbish as well. Be social. I said this earlier. It's really, really important to be super social on social media. It's no good just throwing a piece of content up there and being like, yeah, everyone's going to like it. It does work, especially if you're a name or a model or someone really likes what you're doing. You'll get tons of likes, but often you won't find that your engagement's increasing or your follower count is stuck. That's because you're probably not being very social. And that means chatting to people in your DMs, chatting to people underneath your comments, and reaching out to people and interacting with people on your timeline. Yeah, it's a lot of effort. And again, that's why people hire people like me to do it for them. In my old company, most teams would have a team of about 10 people on one account. That's someone doing analytics, reporting, managing day-to-day stuff like commenting. We call that community management. The physical act of posting, paid social. There's so many elements. Like it's a big job. So don't be overwhelmed if you can't get it quite right and you don't know why your accounts aren't growing. It's a massive job. Analytics. Now this is why I would always recommend, if you're a performer, to have a creator account or a business account. I prefer creator account because you have access to insights. If you need to know where that is, hit me up afterwards and I'll explain it. I might be able to show you on this in a minute actually on my phone. This is great for understanding all about your audience and how to target them more efficiently. So you go to this part here, you can see, oh, this is hard. So the little dots at the top. Oh, this is harder than I thought. Everything's backwards. See that? Insights. Now this is where you can get really clever and start to understand your audience. You can look at content, what content people are most receptive to, your activity. So when is my audience online? What content do they respond to best? My audience last week were online most on Wednesday, Saturday and Sunday. You can look at your reach, impression, your interactions, how many people have clicked to your website and external links, what emails, your profile visits, and you can look at your audience. This is really interesting. You can see when people have unfollowed you and based on what content, your overall growth, so what content are you posting that people are most receptive to, so you should be posting more of that type of content. Where your audience are, so my audience is predominantly in London, so I know when I should be posting. I know a lot of content creators, their audiences are in the USA, so you should be reflecting your content posting times based on where your audience are. And my age range, so my age range are 25 to 35 year olds, and again, I know what I should be posting because of my demographic. So really deep dive into that. And again, if you need help, this isn't easy stuff. You can talk to me about this kind of thing, and I make bespoke plans for people based on your analytics. And again, gender. My gender profile is always more men than women, and they are predominantly online at 9 p.m. So that would form the basis of my strategy. So yeah, insights, check them regularly. They change quite frequently. But it's only very minor changes. Yeah. All right. Rehash. So I spoke a little bit about this earlier. Utilizing content differently on different platforms. So there's an analogy here. I can't remember who talked about this, but Think of content like a turkey or a chicken. You've got your turkey, maybe that's a video. You slice the leg off and that is your teaser for perhaps a YouTube piece of content. Slice the breast off. That breast is your main feed post for Instagram. Maybe it's a still shot or it's a behind the scenes image you've taken on your phone. Slice off the bones, perhaps. Good analogy. And that is your Twitter content. See what I'm saying here? Slice up a piece of content. If you can do it efficiently and you're good at editing, it's the best way. I was speaking to Dory the other day, the fabulous Dory, who runs Doll's Head Wigs. She shoots content on her laptop, has her phone, has another camera over here when she's making content for one of her platform sites from different angles, and then rehashes content that way, which I thought was really, really clever as well. So again, lots of people on here will be content creators for sites like OnlyFans. It's a really great way of utilising the same piece of content but in many different ways. Build loyalty. It's a really important one. You have a fan base that will stay with you often, performers, content creators, models, for life. So you need to remember and interact with those people and treat them like a little fan base, and make sure that you are sometimes resharing things that they post and retweeting them or re-sharing them in your story. It's really important to build a strong algorithm and network for your fan base. I'm going to have a little read of your comments in a second because I can see quite a lot coming through. Collaborate. Now, I'm not talking about shout outs. Models, performers, share for shares, or they're called all sorts of different things. Avoid them. It's not good. They're not seen as good things by Instagram. Very often they can get you banned. It's a form of advertising, and unless you're paying for advertising, which we can't do as models, performers, or sex workers, don't do them. They don't really get you much traction. Your fan base are there for you, and very often they don't care about who it is you're sharing. It's different if you're sharing content and building a network from your fans, but if you're saying, hey, go check out so-and-so, it can be seen as very spammy, and it's really dodgy, and it can get you reported and can get you black marked and flagged, so be really, really careful. But if you're sharing a pertinent piece of content, or someone's drawn a picture of you, or you like something that's a curated piece of content, that's different. But yeah, sharing people and being like, hey, follow so-and-so, try and avoid that. So yeah, building relationships is my last point of top tips of Instagram. Talk to people. Ask questions in your content. So if you're asking a question, hey guys, what do you think of this bikini? Make sure you're then responding to them in your comments. Be responsive. Respond to everyone all the time. It's a lot of effort, but it will pay off to build that really nice organic following that we're all looking for. And like and comment on other people's stuff as well. Don't just throw stuff up there and not talk to people. Never, ever, ever buy likes, by the way. Never use bots. Back in the day when I worked for my agency, we did quite a bit of this because it wasn't frowned upon, and it wasn't a big deal. It came to bite everyone back in the arse big time. So if you've used a bot, if you've bought likes, if you have done any kind of automated software stuff, you're going to be penalised for it aggressively now. So don't do it. Just don't. They will know. Don't get shadow banned. Now I think we're going to go on to shadow banning next. No, we're not. We're going to go into algorithms, because unless you understand how algorithms work, a lot of this can be quite challenging. So before I go on to algorithms, which I'm sure you're all really excited about, I'm going to have a look at the questions. Yes, I like punk rock music. What editing software do you use? Great question. Abby Cowie's asked the best times to post to reach more people. Okay, cool. Software in terms of editing. So for me personally, I post on Instagram and I use OnlyFans. For me, number one, I post every single picture I take is on my phone. I've got an iPhone, which is fantastic, really, really great pixel, like amazing camera to shoot, just as good as a lot of digital cameras and a lot less hassle, especially for exporting. I have a ring light, which I've just broken because I dropped it on the floor, that I slip my phone into, and I have a self-shooting function. It's a newer ring light you can get from Amazon for about £70. They're fantastic. I use an app called Facetune, which I blast all my images into, and I gently take away, first of all, any spots or wrinkles, or smooth down any skin, or take away anything that I don't like, number one. And then I put it into an app called VSCO. It's such a good editing app. You can save filters on there, and it has a bunch of really, really good presets, which I absolutely love. Great for landscapes, great for creators, great for skin, great for everything. Highly recommend. That's just my personal preference. Lots of people will have different ones. So that question, what are the best times to post? It depends on the platform. So generally, for most people, it's in the evening. I'm gonna stop dropping my books in a minute. 9 p.m. for me is my best time. For Twitter, very different. It's 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. on a Friday. Now, again, go over to your Insight tab and look at your audience, because I've done quite a lot of data hacking for different people. Businesses are different. It depends on your gender. Whenever your audience are most likely to be online. However, evening is best. Fuel, it's a bit different because we've got a lot of our audiences in America, and we've seen lately that it doesn't actually matter if we're posting in the morning or the evening. It's trial and error. And again, if I was working for a business, or if I was working for you on something custom, I would look at 3 months worth of data, and we would trial and error. So a lot of it's about learning. So we'd do lots of testing, very boring testing. So I'd do a post based on your analytics. I'd look at every single week, and then we'd work out when the best times are to post. Hope that answers that question. It's a bit convoluted. My question is nice, cool. How would you slice content when it's pictures rather than video? That's really difficult. So I'll come at this from a perspective of shooting a set of images. For example, if I'm shooting a set of images for, let's say, OnlyFans, I know a lot of people use that as a platform as content creators, or Admire Me, or Frisk. My way of doing this is I start with a lot of clothes on. I have an image in mind that I will use for Instagram, and then I slowly build things up to make the images more risky. The riskier ones go on the riskier sites. Then I've got my Instagram images. I've got something in mind for Twitter. I've got something in mind for Facebook, for example, if I was using Facebook. You then have to take into account resolution. So I would always do portrait, landscape, and add a video in there. And again, I've got lots of different groups of girls that shoot content. The best way of doing this is, unfortunately, shooting your content in lots of different ways. So landscape, portrait, putting clothes on, taking them off, and starting a video from start to finish with various different states of undress. That's how you do it for images. There's not you can't take one picture and then slice it up, really. It doesn't really work. So you've got to be a bit more creative. It's effort and it's planning. But if you have a systematic way of doing so, it works quite nicely. And again, you can use that one video and slice the video up rather than one picture, if that makes sense. Hello, Haley! Alright, how do you pay for advertising? If so, how important is it? Thomas, that depends on what it is you're trying to do. It's really important if you're a business. I wouldn't ever recommend that a small business, or, for example, if you're a fire performer and fire performance is your business, you can get away with using paid ads. If you're sexy in any way, for example, like the Fuel Girls or me and my personal business of content creating, you can't use paid advertising. However, you can if you are selling classes, promoting yourself as a teacher. It's really important. I would recommend that you set aside, say, £50 a month to start, and you boost posts if you're using Facebook or Instagram, and say £5 a post once a week. Paid ads, you can have a play around with them, but again, it's trial and error and understanding your audience and what they like and don't like. So playing around with ad sets, playing around with audiences, where are they in the world, who are you targeting? It's a lot of trial and error, but don't spend too much, and only really push pieces of content as well that you're really proud of. So if you've done an awesome fire video, always boost that post and put a little bit of money on it. If you are a sexy content creator and you're trying to boost a set of images or a piece of content, don't bother. It's going to get you banned really quickly. Don't even try. Don't even try and link your OnlyFans. Don't even try and link your sexy content site. For example, Fuel Girls, we can't link anything back to the Fuel Girls because it's deemed as inappropriate content on lots of people's network providers. So we have to be really careful there. Hello, would you not post video clips on Insta if the quality is bad? Does the quality of videos affect the views and stuff, do you reckon? Yeah, so it does. Try and use really, really, really high quality content when and where possible. Above everything else, if I didn't mention it before, which I should have done in Von's top tips, content is number one. Always put out your best content, no matter what. And if you are panic posting or you're like, I'm not sure I should post this, don't do it. If it doesn't have a reason that relates back to your USP or your strategy, why your audience here, what makes me special, what are my KPIs, what's the purpose of this piece of content? Am I educating? Am I informing? Am I teaching? Am I entertaining? Is this a sexy picture of me that people are going to like? Is this an informative piece of content about fire? Is it about show? Is it about, does it have a reason? And try and not post it. And yeah, the quality is really important. So when we talk about algorithms in a minute, you will be penalized if that content is poor quality, which is great. So really try and make it high resolution. Okay, let's talk about algorithms. This might get a bit boring, you might switch off. I don't know how many people are even watching this. However, this is the sort of thing that I write up for people. So I understand this is a lot to just have thrown at you, which is why this might tank aggressively. However, if you're listening, algorithms are coming your way now. Okay, so here's my way of explaining what an algorithm is. It's a set of rules or calculations that a computer uses to solve a problem. For example, your Netflix algorithm. You're recommended all of that content based on something that you've watched. So, for example, I'm served tons of stuff about serial killers because I love serial killers. Instagram does exactly the same. So you're seeing in your feeds stuff that you like because that's what you've liked. It's what you've interacted with, it's what you've commented on, it's what you've been tagged in. It's essentially how the algorithm works. Now, there are about 1 million factors to the algorithms that Facebook uses, and that's for a reason. It wants you to spend money. It wants us all to turn into business accounts, so we start doing ads, so we start boosting, so we start paying for stuff. It wants to make it hard. However, it does prioritize friend and family content. I don't know where I'm looking. I should be looking there. So, if you're a creator making creative content, like a publisher, that's good. You're going to be pushed. Now, the average person spends 27 minutes a day on Instagram. If you're like me, who works in it, you spend about 27 hours a day on Instagram. So how are people going to see your content above anyone else's content, okay? That's what everyone wants to know, really. Now, you need to follow these rules. Instagram has a ranking system in place, right? And there are 3 main ranking systems that you need to adhere to. Number 1, relationships. Okay, so this is all about your interaction and your history. So this is where it takes into account what I was talking about before, who you're commenting on, who you're interacting with, who you're sharing, who you're tagging, who you're talking to in your DMs. That's the main thing that Instagram takes into play, okay? So that means you, as a creator, as a performer, as a business, need to be interacting with people all the time, so you are in their feeds, okay? Effort. That's why people are hired to do this. Number 2, interest. What you like. So what am I actually scrolling every day? What do I like? It's very clever. What am I searching on hashtags? I like food. I'm looking at recipes. I'm constantly looking at recipe hashtags, so I see a lot of food content. However, I am interacting a lot with my friends, my family, my boyfriend. So it's a combination of those things, right? Timelessness. Number 3. This is when people are publishing. So this is where it's really important to know when your audience are online, because the algorithm takes into consideration when that post has just gone on. So obviously now it's non-chronological. Your piece of content has to be engaged with quickly. You have to catch your audience at the right time to ensure that that person in that 27 minutes that they're online is being served that piece of content. So they're the 3 top things that the algorithm considers, okay? Now, other factors. There are literally 1,000 factors, right? We had meetings in my old office every week with the new things that we'd found out about the algorithm, right? And it changes every week, and it's for a reason. They want your money. Session time. So the amount of time a user spends online also massively comes into factor here. So for example, whether you spend 45 minutes online or 5 minutes, okay? That is going to obviously have an impact on whether or not that person sees your content. Pretty self-explanatory. Frequency of use. So that means if a piece of content is really highly engaged with, you're more likely to see that content. So again, you have to work really, really hard on responding back to people, making sure that piece of content is of really high quality and that people really like it. So people are more likely to then be served it, okay? So pick your best content, react to people quickly when they're saying, wow, awesome hair. You're more likely to get that piece of content served. And follow count. So for example, if the people that you're interacting with in your audience are following 1 million people, they're less likely to see your content, all right? Pretty standard stuff. I could talk about algorithms all day, but I won't, because I know it can be quite tedious for people. It's a minefield. Don't be scared if you don't understand it. Back to the questions. Do you have any tips on how to keep yourself motivated to do all this? We love to create and perform, but find this stuff so hard to keep up with. I really hate to say this. There is no way to force yourself to get into enjoying how to do this. That's really badly worded. I've started again myself because I've lost the love of my own personal brand. I hate to sound like a total wanker, but unless you see yourself as a brand, if you are trying to build a following in this world, I'm going to put that up. I'm pretty much all forehead, aren't I? You won't do really well. And unless you attack this daily, systematically, like a business would, it's really hard. So what I do, this is just what I do. Monday is my day of scheduling. So I'm going to come at this like I would for a business. I use software now to schedule all of my posts. It's really boring. I write all my copy and I schedule for Twitter and Instagram. Exactly what I'm going to say and do that week. Now, I would also recommend planning for your month what it looks like. Have you got a show coming up? Are you writing a blog? Do you have cool costumes you want to talk about? Have you got a piece of equipment that you've made that's really, really cool? Have you got a fire video that's really awesome? Put in that month all of your pertinent points of interest, right? Every single week you can then build a strategy around those cool things. This is what keeps me motivated. And it also, it's a great way of celebrating yourself. Like, I'm doing awesome stuff, let's talk about it. Give me a reason, give me a purpose. These are my USPs. Then it frees you up for the rest of the week to respond to people, to interact with people, and to do a job if you work. This is my job. So when I'm working for companies, I plan, schedule, strategize. I then work the week on interacting with the audiences, building the followings and organically talking to people and manually reaching out to people. Then I have my time to create content on a Friday. So I work like a well-oiled machine, and I have to because it's my job. I'm telling you, as regular people using social media or businesses, this is a great way to be. It might help you stay motivated. It might not. My top tips on motivation: create content that you really like, that you're really proud of, and set yourself a goal. So for example, every week, maybe not every week if you're not, unless you're using a platform like OnlyFans, every month, do something awesome. Shoot a really cool fire video. Go and shoot outside in your garden, tips on poi or whatever it is that you do that you're proud of to share. Rehash that content and use it as the basis of that strategy for the month. All right? If you want to get really good, do it weekly. That's what I do. I try and do it weekly. And I would recommend the same if you're a business. A bit different if you're a business, because paid advertising is also coming into play. And that's a completely different ballgame, which I'm not going to talk about today. But yeah, that's what I would say that you should do, Thomas. Awesome. How do you work out what to hashtag on your content? Great question, Liz. Now, this feeds into shadow banning. I'm going to talk about that next. God, I'm going to be here forever. Sorry if anyone's dying of boredom. Hashtagging. There are loads of hashtag generators that you can use if you Google hashtag generator that will help guide you. Don't ever put hashtags in a comment. Instagram doesn't like that. Always put it in the body of your text. So write a piece of nice content, separate it with some dots, dot at the end, and use your hashtags. Try to not use more than 10. Maximum 30, but 10 is a great number, 5 to 10. I think of it like this. Location. Where am I? Okay? Instagram likes to post things and reshare things based on regionality. So if I'm going for a run, I might be in Surrey. Look up all of the hashtags around Surrey. Surrey life. Isha, for example. Get really finely tuned to where you are. What am I wearing? How am I feeling? What am I doing? So emotional, where you are, what you're doing. Explain in the hashtags exactly what that picture is trying to do, what emotion it's trying to evoke, and where you are. They're the best ways to use hashtags. Try to avoid big hashtags like Instagood, Insta-like, Insta-mood. Never, ever hashtag anything sexy. Don't use the word sexy. Don't use the word OnlyFans. Don't use anything that might get you shadow banned, okay? Keep them light and fun, and you can check what the best performing hashtags are if you Google them. So for example, if I'm posting about shoes, 2020's best performing hashtags for shoes. Another tip, always post the hashtags new each time in the comments. It's a labor of love. Don't copy and paste them in. Instagram will flag this. It doesn't like it. It can get you banned. It's ridiculous, but try to always post them in fresh. So, for example, if you are posting a fire performance picture, where are you? What are you doing? What are you wearing? hashtag performance, hashtag performer, and it's so people can find you, number one. So you're aggregating all of your content, number two. For example, I want people to find the Fuel Girls, so I will always do a hashtag for all of the things that the picture is saying, so people can find me, because that's the main purpose of a hashtag, to get found. And number two, to aggregate that content together. So if I want all of my lockdown content for the Fuel Girls to be found, I will use the hashtag lockdown 2020 Fuel Girls, for example. That's when you need to create a new hashtag. Okay. Yeah, does that make sense? What software do you use for scheduling? Any pros, cons for Hootsuite later, etc.? It's personal preference. Now, me, because I work in social media marketing, I use everything at the moment. I really like Loomly at the moment. I'm using this for some businesses that I'm working with because you can type in your post for the week. So for example, on Monday, I can type in all of my tweets for my client to then check within the piece of software and then set it to be scheduled. Whereas before, for Hootsuite, for example, I would use a Google Doc to write my content out, send that to the client. They then look at the content. I then put it in Hootsuite and schedule it. Loomly is great if you're working with a third party. However, Hootsuite is my favorite for me personally. It's so easy to use, really, really easy to use. I use that for all my own Twitter and my own Instagram and my own personal accounts. It's fantastic. However, Later and Hootsuite, all of these pieces of software will require you to manually post on Instagram unless you've got a business account and you've got all your analytics set up. You can't do any, I believe so anyway, you can't do any social listening either unless you've got your business account set up, which means mentions, commenting back to people as well is restricted unless you've got a business account. So yeah, the answer to that question is Loomly if you are working with a third party, because it's great for the process of scheduling, if that makes sense. And Hootsuite's my favourite. I love Hootsuite, I always have. Okay, moving on. Shadow banned. It's really easy to get shadow banned, and I got the most questions about shadow banning. It's a nightmare, an absolute nightmare if you're posting anything sexy or with fire, because guess what? Instagram hates fire because it thinks it's risky, and it hates sexy girls and boys. If you're getting any kind of boob or penis out, you're going to get banned. You can get shadow banned from a minimum of 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. It can go on forever, and it takes in a huge amount of factors. For example, using the wrong hashtags, certain images, words, shout outs, linking to other accounts. So hashtags like sexy, hashtags like OnlyFans, hashtags like sexy girls, sexy model, sex worker, you're going to get banned, right? The next way you're going to get banned, if someone reports your images over and over again, you're going to get banned. Content. If you're posting something that's too risky, you're going to get banned. My friend Frankie, the other day, posted a picture of her nylons, her beautiful nylons, her sexy tights, and image recognition software thought that it was a penis because it looked a bit phallic. It got removed, right? Because it scans automatically and manually, and you got people reporting you, there are so many ways to get banned. It's so easy. So be very, very, very cautious of what you post, especially if you're a business like us. We are shadow banned as Fuel Girls on Instagram, and we can't get out of it. And I believe that's years of people reporting us, posting images that are potentially too sexy. It was a lot easier back in the day to get away with it, and then it got really tight really quickly, literally overnight. Hashtags we used to use, Shout outs as well, if you're doing a ton of shout outs. We've posted lots of models on our feed. Again, it can get you banned. Linking to accounts. I believe that we've linked to the Fuel Girl website a lot of times, and that's worked in our detriment because our site, again, as I said before, is banned on a lot of mobile providers as it's seen as porn content. So if you're doing swipe ups in your feed with your OnlyFans, don't do it. Don't do it. If you are writing your website that's banned in your copy, you're going to get banned. Don't do it. Avoid it all like the plague, okay? A way of getting around linking is use a link tree in your bio. And again, in your bio, don't put your sexy stuff. If you can, don't do OnlyFans. We've got the Fuel Girls in there, which is dodgy, which is probably why we're still shadow banned, which is annoying. But I came up with, I didn't come up with this. Again, I think Frankie came up with this. A great way of getting around this is, it's a lot of effort, but create a holding site on a site like Wix that has all of your information on it. So www.von.com, and that has on there my OnlyFans, Fuel Girls, Get Your Bits Out, everything that I do, and put that in your bio instead, because Instagram is now also aggressively attacking people that use Linktree as a swipe up. Now Linktree, I still use it, I'm still getting away with it, has all of my links in there that I put in my bio, so when I say link in bio for anything that's risky, it comes up with that instead of the links that it instantly blocks. And that is the same for any adult sites, adult work, escort sites. Don't do it, okay? So be obsessed with the rules. And again, my top tip from earlier, if you're a sexy content creator or if you're posting sexy performance stuff, cut it up like a turkey, right? Use your most clothed piece of content on Instagram, on Facebook, not necessarily on Twitter. That's your main feed post, that's your cover post. Everything else, put it elsewhere, okay? So I've talked about that. You can be reported, you can be automatically scanned, and you can be found on a hashtag. So if you're using dodgy hashtags, just don't do it. That's how they'll find you. Okay, how do you get out of a shadow ban, right? We're still shadow banned, and that's because, number one, you have to stop using your platform entirely for about 2 weeks. I've done some tests recently with some people who've been shadow banned. A friend of mine, she got out of hers really quickly, okay? She didn't log in at all for 2 weeks. She got off of everything, which is painful. And again, if you're a business, it can completely tank you in terms of engagement because you're stopping your regular posting. However, if you're in a shadow ban, it can make everything great again. And that means not even logging in, it's logging out of everything completely, right? Before you do that, archive, don't delete all of your sexy content, right? Go through and archive. If you don't know how to archive, like this. I think I should drop more in this bloody live stream, sorry. Right, there's my page. Click on it, taking a picture, dots at the top, delete or archive. Archive it, don't delete it. Instagram doesn't like it when you delete anything, okay? It penalises you. Thanks, algorithm. Archive everything sexy or anything with a hashtag that you've done that's naughty. Archive. Delete all the hashtags, okay? Don't use any banned tags in the future, and that should get you out of a shadow ban, those things alone, okay? There's something that I found, I think it's pronounced Tribbers, Triberrs, shadow ban tester. So Google it, you can test if you've been shadow banned. A great way of looking if you've been shadow banned is doing a post as well with a hashtag and seeing if you can find yourself on the hashtags. I try and find any Fuel Girl content on hashtag Fuel Girls. You can't, we're shadow banned, okay? Amberly is a fantastic lady. On the 25th of July has a seminar on shadow banning, and I've signed myself up to it. It's a Saturday at 11 a.m. If anyone's interested in signing themselves up to that, I suggest you do. she's fantastic, and it's a talk on how to get out of a shadow ban. I'm moving on to, I'm nearly done, guys, I promise. I'm moving on to Twitter next, and I'm going to look at questions now. What are your thoughts on Facebook profiles and pages? Are these things of a past or for promoting? Thank you, that's really useful. I love Hootsuite. Great. Okay, Facebook profiles and pages. For me personally, they're a thing of the past. But that's for me personally as a model and performer, right? However, it's completely different for businesses, okay? Fuel Girls, it is our biggest space, biggest engagement. We've got over 100,000 people on here. It's incredibly important for us. It's the place where you can put the most varied type of content. You can aggressively target on there. It's fantastic for advertising, and this is integral to anyone who has a business, okay? Anyone who has a business that's linked to a business Instagram, you need it. I don't know enough about performers or models that still use Facebook, but I believe they can still be great places for engagement. The demographic is slightly older on there. So again, I would say look at your audience. If you are a young creator or performer or business with a demographic that is young and predominantly female, I would say look at TikTok, look at Snapchat, look at Instagram, then Twitter, then Facebook last. If you are like us, who has a really old school base of fans, Facebook's still really, really good. We've got a slightly older demographic as well, of both male and female, so Facebook works very much in our favour. I would say have a look at your analytics and then decide whether or not it's going to work for you. What I will say is if you're using it from a business perspective, it's incredibly challenging to build up a big follower base now as opposed to back in the day. It was quite easy when Facebook was big and booming to build up a big follower base. It's really hard now, and unless you are spanking cash, you aren't going to see anywhere near the type of engagement that you did back in the day. So we have a video on there that like pretty much went viral, an MOD video, well over 1 million views. That type of engagement is incredibly challenging now unless you are a celebrity or big in your own right, if that makes sense. So if you're a huge Suicide Girl, or if you are very well known, go for it. If you're very active in Facebook groups as well, give it a try. Hope that answers your question. Okay, moving on to Twitter. I'm not going to cover every single social media platform as well, because I realise I've been talking for an hour and this might become tedious. I've just got into Twitter, me personally, because of the nature of the content that I'm posting lends itself better to Twitter. As Instagram gets harder and harder to use for people posting anything sexy, Twitter is becoming the place for us to live. And again, treat it like a business, okay? I schedule everything. Guess what? The amount of times you need to post on Twitter, the average, right, ranges from 3 a day to 51 pieces of content a day. It has been found that the best amount of posts, the optimal posting amount, is 15 pieces of content a day. Lucky for you, 7 pieces of those content can be curated content, so pieces of content from other people, or retweets or reshares, okay? It's a lot, and that's why I recommend you use something like Hootsuite. And again, you can talk to me further about this kind of stuff. I can help people with bespoke plans on how to do this, because this is a lot. Be super reactive on there, right? So it's very topical. You know, you need to be talking about trending things, trending topics. What's happening in the news, what's happening in your world, has to be reactive, okay? If you're using a piece of scheduling software like Loomly, you are recommended based on what time of day that you're posting, something relevant for that time of day, which is really useful. So if you want to be a bit more technical, I'd say use a piece of software like that. And again, if you'd like to have any help, I can help with that. Schedule everything. Try and schedule for the whole week. And that's when people that get really good, businesses, if you want to grow, they schedule everything. No one does this every day. It's too hard. It takes over your entire life. No one wants to live that way. And that's why social media marketing will always be a very booming business and why people are paid to do it. The best way is to use Twitter. My top tips, okay? Number 1, be responsive. I've already mentioned that. Respond to people quickly as well. You have to be on the feed, in the platform, responding to things as they are chronologically being posted. That's why you should schedule your own stuff out the way. Number 2, offer promotions. If you're using it for a business or for sexy content creation purposes, like promoting your performance or an OnlyFans, it's a great place to smash out promotions. That platform likes it. Instagram and Facebook, not so much. You have to pay for it. So if you're trying to do a competition or a promotion or push 50% off something, you're going to get banned. On Twitter, no. It's a good place to do it. It's a great place as well, number 3, to provide educational content. It's better to educate people on Twitter. So sharing links on things about things that are educational. I'm not going to talk more about that. It's self-explanatory. Number 4, be visual. People forget that it's also a very visual platform, Twitter. And if you are scheduling, always try to add the image in rather than give it the recommended image if you're using a link. If that makes sense. People that are using scheduling software will understand that. Be funny. Twitter's a place for banter. It's like, think of it like you're bantering with mates. Try and be amusing. If you're not, it's you can't force it, but it's a great place to use humour. And lots of successful brands are succinct with what they post, and the most successful companies utilise humour in their advantage on Twitter. Try and post exclusive stuff on Twitter. So new this, new that, new set, new fire show. Excite people on there and tease people for platforms that you're posting more long form content. So it's great to be like, I've got this new fire video out on YouTube, new post over on Instagram. It's great as your advertising shop front to push other new and exclusive things that you're doing. And again, I write guides for every single platform on how to do this based on your analytics, your KPIs, your USPs. That's my job. So don't be alarmed if you don't know how to do all this. Not many people do. So if you were to come to me and be like, hey Von, I'm a new performer, I want to break into this market, I want to grow my account this amount, I can write you a how-to guide based on lots of these facts. And I am actually writing some guides at the moment, which will be available soon. And again, an example of a how-to would be breaking it down daily, weekly, monthly. Daily, respond to people every single day. So much effort. Follow and unfollow people. You can do this on Twitter to help grow your following quite quickly. Tweet every single day, about 15 times. Weekly, work on your schedule on a weekly basis. Trending news. Try and follow trends on Twitter and be responsive to those trends on a weekly basis. Influencer work. Talking to people within your network that are influential. For example, other performance groups, other models, other people that are in your network. Yeah? Monthly. Make lists. You can make lists on Twitter of people that you are interacting with, influencer lists, a little bit like you can on OnlyFans, for example. Really important, really nerdy and really technical, so I won't go too deeply into that, but if you're interested in help with that, let me know. And building relationships, long-term relationships, something that you need to look at as part of your strategy for Twitter. on a monthly basis. Go back to it, and again, like you would on an OnlyFans. Now, I believe that's all my notes for today. That was a whistle-stop tour. Some of the talks and seminars and strategies that I would write for people are manuals. They're hundreds of pages. Social media is really tough. It's a constant source of overwhelmment for people. It can be incredibly anxiety-inducing, especially when you're seeing people that are not only seemingly to be doing things all the time, especially post-lockdown. Everyone's like going out and performing and doing stuff, and I'm sitting at home with my cat crying. Don't let social media overwhelm you. I write a lot about social media overwhelmment and the feelings of anxiety around it. Remember, right? Listen to how I'm talking today. If you're good at it and you understand how to use it, you are using it like a business would. You're putting your best foot forward. You're putting your best content out there. You're putting your best smile on, your best piece of performance footage that might have been edited to high heaven. It's not showing you the bloopers. It's not showing you the days where I'm sitting at home from 9 a.m. to 12 o'clock at night scheduling the content that I've written for 5 clients, that I've gone back for 15 times with amends. The pieces of things that, the content that I'm chasing, the stuff that I can't get right, the content that's tanked, this isn't an easy thing to do, and it's not an overnight job. And when I'm working with businesses, it's months of analytics, it's months of understanding, it's months of testing data sets, it is back and forth looking at analytics and data. It's not easy, and unless you are amazing, the best performer in the world, the best model out there, already got a massive name, you're not going to just make content and be good. But I believe everyone, if you've got something to say, if you're unique, and if you're posting content that is good content, there's no way you can't build an organic following and grow your account if you do all these things well. God, I look really orange. So if you follow a general set of rules and you are ticking them off every day, you will grow. You will be good at what you do. But don't get disheartened, and don't take social media too seriously. Hannah, my boss, sometimes says to me, another car alarm, it's only social media, don't get overwhelmed. And I have to remind myself that a lot. I do take it really seriously because it's my job, and when I'm working for clients, I want it to do well so badly. And when I used to work for my old agency and I was working on big accounts, Unilever was one of my main clients, so big accounts, it becomes your life, it's your baby. You are worried constantly about getting it right, making sure people are receptive, making sure you don't start wars. It's all consuming sometimes. So remember, don't take it too seriously. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, don't do it. Post stuff that you believe in, post stuff that makes you unique, post stuff that you love, that you're proud of. It's better to post less content that's really good than panic posting. And my other top tip, don't look at everyone else and compare yourself to them on what they're doing. Because if they're doing social well, a lot of the time they're just following a set of rules. They're adhering to algorithms, and they know what they're doing, and they know what you like, you being the audience. Some of the most unhappy people I know have the best social media accounts. And I've said this before, I've seen, when I used to work with big influencers for big campaigns, they would switch in and out of entirely different personas when they're in front of the camera. It's really easy to lie on social media. I can post the best story, like I'm having the best day, but I'm actually having a cry in between each take. Like, you just don't know. So don't be overwhelmed with it all, especially post-lockdown. You're going to see a lot of stuff online soon of people going back to normal, of people getting jobs again. If you're a performer, you're going to see people going, even now, performing. Don't let it overwhelm you. Take time, post stuff you're proud of, and just do you. I learnt the hard way to just do me. And don't worry if you lose followers. I lose followers a lot because I post things that I believe in. I talk about mental health. I talk about stuff that's important to me. And it's really hard for me to grow a following because of that. My follower count massively drops when I post certain things, but I don't care because I'm being true to myself. I feel like I might have gone off tangent there, so I'm going to look at questions to see if there are any. You can book social media consultations with me via the link pinned in the profile over here. And again, I can write you custom bespoke plans to help launch your social, to help launch new businesses, to help relaunch your social as well. I'm doing relaunch plans with people at the moment. How to get them back on track with their social media if they've gone wrong. How to get you out of a shadow ban, and looking at your analytics. But I'm hopefully writing a little bit of a guide for Fuel soon on all the things I just talked about. So rest assured, if you struggled there keeping up, you'll have something to refer to. Now bear with me. Next one, it's to promote my photography. Awesome. Does Instagram like you to share your TikTok? Instagram likes you to share anything that's attached to Facebook. So, is Instagram attached to Facebook? I'm actually not sure. So if it is, share away. If it's not, don't do it. Probably should know that, but I don't, I'm afraid. Do you rate having websites these days? Yeah, I do. Anything that can give you higher SEO rankings, do it. For example, I have a site for my social media management. That is where I'm able to promote all of my social media work, and I can obviously do Google AdWords around that, and I can plug blogs into that, blogs in which I can utilize SEO. So yes, use a website, use it to link from your Instagram, as I was talking about earlier, and try and write blogs if you can that are SEO friendly. And again, if you need help with that, just ask and I can help you to help people find you. So the more SEO friendly blogs you have, the more content you have out there talking about what it is you do, the better. So I do recommend having a website, even if it's simple. I love Wix. Wix is a great website builder, super intuitive, loads of templates. Cool. Hello, Yassine. I hope that answers everyone's questions today. I don't know if that was all right. I don't know if I rambled, but here to help if you need me. I love talking about this kind of thing, and I hope I was clear and concise. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to go and eat loads of food now because I'm really hungry, and lots of love. That's it. Oh, do you believe in social media breaks? More questions? I do. So, if you're like me, another alarm. It's well sketchy in Surrey. So social media breaks. I really struggle sometimes. I'm not going to say a bit mental. I have mental health issues. Overwhelmment is a big problem of mine. It used to be much more. It's not so much anymore. When I was in the thick of some of my issues, I've really struggled looking at social media and scrolling and being like, the world, everyone hates me. I've got no friends. So for me, I used to have to take breaks all the time and limit my social media. So it's a great way of doing this. You can limit your screen time. You can set limits on Instagram to stop you from going into wormholes and over-stimulating. Now, if you're a person who is similar to me, it's great if you can get into scheduling or get someone to help you with scheduling, because it can run in the background, you don't have to do anything. Although I will say with the scheduling apps, you still have to manually post from a lot of them. So you write the copy, it sends you a reminder, then you manually post it. But it's really, really good for your mental health to not be on social media all the time. it can really mess you up. Some people aren't affected by it at all. Some people are really good and can sit on social media for 7 hours and be like, I'm still great, everything's great, life is great. I'm not one of those people. I compare myself to other people, I think terrible thoughts, I feel like I'm crap at performing, like everyone's doing so much. Those are thoughts that I have. And a lot of them are not true, and that's something entirely different that I have to work on. But for me, breaking away from social media really helps. And like Hannah always says, it's only social media. People are putting their best foot forward. A lot of it's not real. But yeah, try and schedule if that is a problem of yours too, and limit your screen time. Thanks, Mum, really helpful. Every time I see you on a show, you seem to be very much in control of it all. Yeah, I'm good at showing that, aren't I? Like social media, we are masters often of acting. Something I talk about a lot in my confidence blogs, I do a lot of blog writing as well, I'm just gonna sit like this, is having personas that you use to protect yourself on social media. Something that I do really well. Von is my I'm Fuel Girl Von. I'm the model performer Von. She, who is on social media, isn't necessarily the real me. That person is confident. She's amazing at performing. She's a great cook. She can answer everyone's problems. She's confident on live stream. She's awesome. But that's not the real me. The real me is protected. Siobhan is the real me. So all this scheduling I do, all this best foot forward I put out there, the Von on stage, that's the best version of me. So I'm glad you see that we look so in control, but myself and every single girl that I work with, we all suffer with something, with some kind of mental health problem or anxiety or confidence issues. Just because we look like we are incredibly confident and at ease with what we do, it's very much not the case. And we've become masters of this. And again, that's why people like me are employed to make businesses to help people put their best foot forward. And yeah, with Fuel Girls, of course, we're always in control. I mean, we're literally setting things on fire and could potentially kill you if we weren't in control. So there is an element of being good at what we do as well involved in that. I'm really glad you enjoyed this talk, guys. I was a little bit worried that this might not go down so well, but yeah, I'm really happy to chat to you all. And yeah, feel free to drop into my DMs today over on the Fuel Girls Instagram if you got any more questions, or if you would like something a bit more bespoke to help you out. Bye everyone!